LGBT community. When the organizers of tonight's forum approached Vanderbilt about being the location for this event, we quickly embraced the idea and the opportunity, for this university has a long and deep commitment to diversity and inclusion. We look forward to an engaging forum, and thank you again to the candidates and to all of you for joining us on campus. Now I'd like to introduce Sam Felker, who is a partner at the law firm of Baker Donaldson and currently serves as president of Stonewall Bar Association of Tennessee. Sam will introduce the candidates and our moderator for this evening. Thank you again.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank Vanderbilt for having us here for this event. It was tremendous when they stepped up and agreed to host this, and we couldn't do this without the tremendous support of Vanderbilt. Thank you. Next, I want to thank the sponsoring organizations. I'll run through them quickly. The Nashville LGBT Chamber of Commerce, the Stonewall Bar Association of Tennessee, Tennessee Equality Project, and the Tennessee Transgender Political Coalition. Please thank our sponsors. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you the candidates who are with us this evening. We're so glad that all 7 candidates accepted the invitation and agreed to be here. Thank you so much. Starting at my immediate left is Linda Eskin-Rebovic, CEO of Consensus Point, a consumer marketing research firm. Prior to that, Ms. Rebovic held executive positions at IBM and Dell. Her campaign slogan, "Join Linda for a Smarter Nashville." And I will ask you to hold your applause, I'm sorry. So let me run through these first. Next, Jeremy Kane, CEO of LEAD, an organization that runs 7 Nashville charter schools. Previously, Mr. Kane was a speechwriter for Massachusetts Senator John Kerry. His campaign slogan, "Let's create Nashville together." Thank you for being here. Next, Howard Gentry, criminal court clerk for Davidson County. Mr. Gentry served 2 terms as Metro Councilman at Large. His campaign slogan, "Together, let's make Nashville a world-class city for everyone." Thank you for being here. Next, Bill Freeman, chairman and co-founder of Freeman Webb, a real estate investment management and brokerage company. Mr. Freeman is the former director of the Downtown Urban Development Agency for Metro Nashville Development and Housing Agency. His campaign slogan, "Heart and Leadership." Thank you for being here. Next, David Fox, former Metro Nashville School Board chairman. Most recently, Mr. Fox worked at Titan Advisors, a hedge fund based in New York. His campaign slogan, "The Nashville Way." Thank you for being here. Next, Charles Robert Bone, a local business owner and lawyer. Mr. Bone runs a law practice that represents businesses and government entities throughout the state. His campaign slogan, "A mayor for all of us." Thank you for being here. And last, at the end, Megan Berry, a 2-term Metro Councilwoman at Large. Ms. Berry also worked as a corporate executive, most recently as the Ethics and Compliance Officer for Premier Inc., a healthcare company. Her campaign slogan, "Keeping Nashville Moving Forward." Welcome the candidates. Next, let me say a quick word about the program this evening, which is unlike any other mayoral forum to date, because the focus will be LGBT, diversity, and inclusion. Our sponsoring organizations prepared an agenda of issues which we believe affect the LGBT community in Nashville. We provided that list to our moderator, who I'll introduce in a moment, who prepared the questions for the candidates. Unlike some of the debates, the candidates were not provided the questions ahead of time, so they don't know what the questions are that they're about to get. But they were only told to be prepared to address issues of diversity and inclusion. Lastly, before I introduce the moderator, you were given a ticket when you came in. So we're going to raffle off a trip to P-Town. No, I'm kidding. count them, and release the results. Now, without further ado, we're really pleased tonight to have our moderator, Chris Conte. Chris is, as you know, a News Channel 5 reporter, and he covers a wide variety of topics, including politics. He's also been honored with a number of Emmy Awards and is a member of Nashville's LGBT community. Please welcome Chris Conte.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Our goal this evening is to have an engaging, enlightening, and thoughtful debate. I have met with all of the candidates beforehand to explain the format of this evening's debate, but they have not seen or reviewed any of the questions that are about to be asked. Here's how this evening's debate is going to work. First, we have 2 questions that all 7 candidates will be required to answer. They will have up to a minute to do so, but aren't required to use that allotted time. However, backstage, I would admit most of them probably will. After the initial group questions, we will move on to the individual questions. Each candidate will be asked a specific question and have 90 seconds to answer. Once that 90 seconds is up, there will be a 2-minute rebuttal period in which other candidates can respond, but they will only have 30 seconds to do so and will only have 3 30-second rebuttals for the entire debate. I will be keeping track of rebuttals to ensure fairness throughout the course of this evening's debate. At the end, each candidate will have 2 minutes to deliver a closing statement. We hope that this forum gives you, the voters, a clearer picture of where all 7 of these candidates stand on LGBT issues. So we're going to start the evening with the 2 questions that each candidate is going to get to answer. You're going to have 1 minute to do so. The first question that we're going to ask is, should same-sex couples in Tennessee have the right to marry? Ms. Reverend Griffin, we're going to start with you.
Yes.
Yes.
Forward to the opportunity to do.
Yes, and as mayor, I would be proud to perform marriages.
Yes. Yes. Yes, and I've already stated that I would be delighted to perform the first marriage.
I'll say yes, and back to the motto of the Nashville way, that's sort of what it's all about for us, is treating everyone with respect and civility and kindness, and certainly marriage equality is part of that, so yes.
Yes, and it's my hope and expectation that that will be the case here shortly.
Yes, and the good news is because I can already marry people, I don't have to wait till I'm mayor. So.
It may not take a whole minute. The second question, again, you have a minute to answer this question, and each candidate is going to get to address this. Since this is the only mayoral forum specifically geared toward discussing LGBT issues, please explain what you have done in the past to support the LGBT community and provide us with at least 1 example. Ms. Reverend.
Okay. I have to say I'm very proud to have family members and very, very close friends who are in the LGBT community. And so in my whole life, I have supported diversity. I've supported inclusion. In the companies that I've worked for, I've led efforts for women, for minorities, for global diversity, for LGBT, to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, to make sure that everyone has equal rights, to make sure that everyone has the opportunity for fair pay and for fair treatment in companies. The minute I saw the Metro Human Relations Commission report, I came out immediately with an op-ed saying that as your mayor, I will make sure that my administration is inclusive. I've been involved in many organizations where I've raised money through the United Way, through organizations that are supporting Nashville Cares. I've been on the board, I've been involved. There are many, many different community agencies in our city that I have personally spent time on and that I have been involved with, and I'm proud to. Okay, now look
No
for
more time to
time.
respond.
Is there a red
Sorry,
sheet?
got the red
Oh,
spot.
sorry, I didn't see it. My bad.
Mr. Kane, 1 minute.
Great. 2 particular points I'd love to make is at our schools, there are kids right now who are sitting in college classrooms who have enjoying their summer, and because of the partnerships that we made with the Oasis Center, with our Just Us programs, and I have to say that we didn't always have the answers at LEAD, and I certainly didn't have the answers, but reached out and made those partnerships, found a way to extend benefits to our employees, and be more inclusive through that effort, some of the freedoms we were allowed as public charter schools in particular. So those kids, as well as all of our students, being able to be more inclusive, struggling with how to serve our students with restrooms, for example, I think enlightened all of us and really opened my mind, my perspective. I also supported my father when he cast a vote. He's a Presbyterian minister, to be able to allow Presbyterian ministers in those states that allow gay marriage to perform marriages. Defended him when his church and several people in the community went after him. So that's personal for me as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry.
There was a time years ago when HIV and AIDS were prevalent in the African American community, and people were turning their heads and putting their heads in the sand, especially our ministers and our churches. During that time, Nashville Cares came online, and there were not very many African Americans who were willing to take a stand and to stand out in front of this. I went on to the Nashville Care Board. I worked with the African American churches in the Harry Medical College to disseminate educational information. I worked within the communities at TSU, other universities around the city, and started sensitizing the black churches to speak to the issue of AIDS and HIV. And I would like to think that our work while on the board during and after has helped to heighten the awareness, to heighten the discussion, and lower the cases within that community.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry. Mr. Freeman.
Thank you. I have supported the HRC dinner every year, the Oasis Center, the Rape and Sexual Violence Center. I've served as a national co-chair for OFA, served with the president for the last 3.5 years in that capacity. And I think I'm the only candidate on this stage who can say that 25% of our campaign staff are members of the LGBT community.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Mr. Fox.
Sure, a couple things come to mind. First, I guess inadvertently, when I started a business with some partners about 15, 16 years ago called Nashville Post, unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize that my entire staff was gay and lesbian. It took me a few years to figure that one out. So I provided employment opportunities for everyone. But on a more serious level, when I was chairman of the school board, I had a chance to work with Judy Freudenthal, and the two of us were able to work with students and to help them develop a student bill of rights, primarily to make sure that the learning climate in our high schools was acceptable and friendly for LGBT students. That's the most useful thing I guess I've done.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. Obviously been involved in a lot of organizations with a lot of efforts supportive of the LGBT community from our law firm and otherwise, certainly friends, colleagues, associates, family members, etc. But also as you run for mayor, you begin to you expose yourself to so many different great things happening across the city. Certainly having had the pleasure and opportunity to see on one end what Nashville Cares is doing, and on the other end you think about the Oasis Center and the Just Us programs, and begin to see programs in the city that you can scale and take advantage of to address needs that are already here. Certainly we've been supportive of a lot of these efforts through our law firm and through other businesses, and certainly would continue that as mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Eric.
So, for Metro Council, I've had the opportunity to sponsor and pass the non-discrimination ordinance that protects Metro employees from discrimination. I have co-sponsored and passed legislation that provided domestic partners for Metro employees, co-sponsored and passed legislation that made it so that Metro could only work with suppliers that also had a non-discrimination ordinance legislation piece. Of course, the state overturned that, so we need to work on that. I recently was also the sponsor of a piece in January for protecting our youth and making sure that they're not bullied. But that's what I've done. Let's talk about what we're going to do, because there's still a lot more to happen. We have focused on Metro government, but we need to extend this to all of the employment opportunities in Nashville. And if you look at the major companies that are here, they're already doing this. It's good business. When you want to attract and retain the most highest level of talent, you want to make sure that you are bringing in that talent and you're giving them everything that they want, and that includes benefits.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. So now we're going to move on to the individual questions. Each of you will get one question. You will have 90 seconds to answer. Once that 90 seconds is up, any of you can jump in with a 30-second rebuttal. You will have 3 rebuttals. that you can use in any way fit. You can rebuttal from your own question or anyone else's question. Timer showing how this is going to work here. We're just going to continue back down the line. So, Mr. Eberbeck, the first question here is for you. We have heard a brief bit just there about your history and past with the LGBT community, but now it's time to look toward the future. If elected, what would your agenda be to protect the rights of those LGBT citizens in the community of Nashville?
Right. Well, I will begin by making sure that Metro is inclusive. When you look at the leadership, it has to include the LGBT community. And the reason is not just because it's the right thing to do. It's because I have learned through a lot of effort promoting diversity that you get better results by doing it. And so it is going to be a major part of the culture that I build in the Metro government. We will have tolerance, and we will make sure that across the organization and in leadership, we have people representing LGBT community. In addition to that, I'm going to recruit, as I look at companies that we bring to Nashville, I want to make sure they're good corporate citizens, that they have the right policies, they treat employees fairly, that they do the same things that I will do in Metro by leading by example. I also want to make sure that we build an environment in our schools where our youth are proud and able to be supported by the teachers and the parents and the other students, so that no one is worried about their safety. And we will do that by providing sensitivity training. We will do that by making sure that teachers are aware and, very carefully being involved in the situations that are happening in the school system so that the children are safe and that they have the development that they need. Nashville must be a safe place, and I will make sure as your mayor that it is, and that we're supportive, and that every single person is proud of their heritage and their beliefs.
Thank you, sir. Anyone want to jump in? 30-second rebuttals. Anyone would like to use one of theirs here? This question. Move on. The next question is from Mr. Kane. Mr. Kane, in the last 5 years, the number of people living with AIDS in Middle Tennessee has increased 21%. An estimated 5,000 people in the mid-state are living with the life-altering disease, and yet funding for treatment, testing, healthcare access, and housing can often be hard to come by. How would you address these problems head-on if you're elected?
Make sure I get all of them. So I've talked about throughout this campaign of creating an office of nonprofits, neighborhoods, and faith. As we think about Nashville's strengths, we're a city of neighborhoods, we're a city of nonprofits, we're an incredibly giving and compassionate city. All of us, I think, were co-chairs of the Nashville Cares Breakfast, and looking at the incredible work that that organization does and continues to do and provides life-saving services. We need to leverage those resources, and we need a partner in the next mayor. Also, our faith institutions, our churches, from programs like Room in the Inn to partner with Just Us for our homeless youth, are programs we have to leverage as well. So I see that as a mayor as having that office right there in the the office of the mayor is critically important. The other piece of it is continuing to fully fund Metro General, is providing those services. I've been a candidate from the very beginning that says we need to protect the funding for Metro General. It provides incredible resources to all of our communities, including restoring the funding for our pharmacy right on site to help folks not have to take a bus to and from the department, Metro General, and then go to Lentz, and then go to Publix and elsewhere to get their drugs and their prescriptions. So I think those two are really critical, important pieces of it. When you talk about housing, we have to invest in affordable housing throughout the city. We had a good mayor who invested and made it a priority. Oh, I'm cut off.
All right, we got 5 seconds.
Oh, 5 seconds. So with Mayor Purcell, when he started, created 25,000 homes over 8 years, made it a priority, linked it with incentives, and also protected our seniors.
Now you're covered.
All right.
Rebuttals. Anyone like to jump in on this question, talk about AIDS funding? Ms. Barrett?
I think it's really important, and Jeremy mentioned this about Metro General. We have to continue to fund a safety net hospital. And one of the ways that we are trying to do that is to create a better payer mix. So when we moved forward to create benefits for our community that everybody could access through their health care in Metro government, that meant that we increased our payer mix. So that means that Metro employees can go to Metro General, and if they go, they don't have to do a copay. So it's about finding creative ways to enlarge that pay mix.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Anyone else like to jump in?
I think there's one other thing where the LGBT community or those with HIV is not immune. 19% of our population in Davidson County does not have health insurance. And obviously, we've seen great strides being made at the federal level, but yet the state has refused to act and puts that to the city. So I think that we have to turn that into an opportunity and begin to look at how do we piece together a healthcare system in this city, either for those, the working poor, and or for those who are uninsured, to ensure that we take advantage of our federal healthcare clinics, Mayoral, Vanderbilt, et cetera.
Thank you, Mr. Bill. Anyone else like to jump in? Okay, we'll move on. The next question is for you, Mr. Gentry. When you were vice mayor back in 2009, you cast a tie-breaking vote to defeat a proposed ordinance that would have protected lesbian, gay, and bisexual citizens in Nashville from discrimination in employment and housing. Should members of the LGBT community see your previous voting record as the way you would govern today if elected mayor of Nashville?
Well, I certainly hope not. And the fact is, if you really look at that bill, it was not protection. It was more of a bill that really did not have teeth. Now, I did learn a lesson from that. And I am running on experience. And my experience from that vote is that we talk about the fact that all of these bills have been passed recently. But what we went through during that period was the war, the fire, the ugliness. We went through a period where people in this community were treated very unfairly, inside the chambers and outside. I thought that my vote on that second reading was to end the ugliness. But what I did was hurt people by doing it, and the bill would have been defeated anyway. So the fact is, over the last 10 years, I have had the opportunity to meet with groups on a regular basis, from youth through adults. I've had an opportunity to have one-on-one conversations almost monthly with people who asked about that vote and were concerned about where I was on that vote. The fact is, I got to hear you, you got to hear me. I have grown through this. I have learned from this. I'm a better person as a result of it, and as a result of it, I will be a better mayor, one who's gone through the fire and now understands how important your position really is and your life really is.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry. Anyone else like to respond? Experience?
I want to add, kind of goes back to your first question. It's not about Mr. Gentry's experience, but I do want to add that my husband, Art Reberdick, and I have spent a lot of time on this topic, even back in the year 2000. I'm proud to say he was head of the Human Relations Commission, and that was when we first started to push for the non-discrimination ordinance. My husband stood up and took a lot of heat pushing on getting that bill and helping be part of that. The other thing is he went to metro schools and talked about how important it was to make sure that we had children in safe environments.
Thank you, Ms. Reverend. Anyone else like to jump in? Okay. Go ahead.
It is absolutely about my experience. When you've been called an obstructionist for 10 years, when you know where your heart is and how you care about people, it is about my experience. I've been able to live through that. I've been able to become better as a result of that. And you will see how Howard Gentry has grown and Howard Gentry has matured. And because of that experience, I'm different than any other candidate here. And I'll be better at dealing with it.
Thank you, Mr. Gentry. Ms. Barry?
I don't want anybody to have the impression that when we passed the non-discrimination ordinance, that it was easy. It wasn't. Things that matter are hard, and people who need to stand up and lead do when things are hard. And there were a lot of people in this room who worked really hard to make sure that that non-discrimination ordinance passed. You can't ever do any of this alone. And I just wanted to highlight the fact that it was a fight, even then, and we'll continue to have fights, and we have to be able to stand up and make sure we're leading on those fights.
Thank you. This question is for Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman, it is obviously no secret that you have your hands in a lot of real estate around the city. While South Central serves as a community center for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender citizens, they run solely on donations and out of a small space on Church Street. What would you do to make this a more robust and effective center that isn't constantly worried about where their funding is going to be coming from?
Well, I would go see it. I've not seen it yet, so that's the first step. I would try to figure out what it is that they need. If that location is ideal, I'm not sure who owns the property. we would look at all that and do what we could to help. I wish I had more information about the facility, but I'm sorry, I just don't.
Anyone else like to jump in?
Sure, I've called for a new idea and new creation around our school facilities is all too often we just allow schools to exist there between the hours of 7 and 4, and after 4 it goes dark, where you have a number of nonprofits just like this that are struggling for space. We have community organizations that want to partner there. I would love to be able to reorganize school space and school facilities so that we have nonprofits there, so that they aren't struggling for space like this and struggling for rent. Our students don't have to get on a bus. They can walk across the hall for a service that they need. That's something that I'll do as your mayor.
Thank you, Mr. King. Anyone else like to jump in on the LGBT community center needs? Okay, moving on. Mr. Fox. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender teens often have no place to go when they are thrown out of their homes by family members who don't support them, and consequently they end up homeless. What would you do to address this problem?
It sort of has a little bit to do with the past question, the previous question. Is most of the capacity in our city does not exist in the mayor's office. It exists in the private sector, especially in the not-for-profit sector. The work that Hal Cato did that's being carried on at Oasis is extremely important. It serves not just gay and lesbian kids, but any kid who's disenfranchised, has trouble with the family, or has a homeless situation. I'm in favor of strong partnerships between our municipal government and not-for-profits like Oasis. We don't need to recreate the wheel, but maybe we do need to provide more funding for organizations like this that have the existing capacity and expertise. So that would be the model that I would like to use to, again, to better engage metro government and funding with organizations like Oasis, I'm sure others, who will play a helpful role for children in that circumstance.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, anyone like to jump in? Mr. Bone, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would add, kind of picking up where David is, or was, when you think about what Oasis Center and the Just Us program is, amongst others that are doing it, that to me seems the intersection of how we're effectively helping kids, how we're effectively addressing homelessness, and how we're also protecting members of the LGBT community, especially those that are younger. And when you look at the great work being done in the city, it's already being done in so many different capacities, and I think the government's opportunity is how do we scale that.
Mr. Freeman, Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, Chris, I've outlined a plan to add 10,000 affordable housing units over the next 4 years, 2,500 units a year, and to do that through the private sector so that we could get on that quickly and get those built in a hurry. I've also talked about 20,000 affordable housing units in the second 4 years, for a total of 30,000 affordable housing units. That'll make a dent in the housing problem for everyone.
I was founding chair of the Homeless Commission, and the reality is that the young people in the